Yeah, all right. We're talking Illinois Prairie Path, okay? We're talking Great Western Trail, my friend, okay? Can you dig it? We're talking Robert McClory. Yeah, we're talking North Shore Channel Trail, baby. We're talking the North Branch Trail, right? Up to good old Skokie Lagoon, right? Have yourself a nice loop around the lagoon, my friend, okay? Or how about the illustrious Des Plaines River Trail? Delicious, delicious. Welcome to Sentimental Fools, okay? All right. Thanks for being here, friends. I appreciate you. Today we're talking about something simple, kind of. We're talking about riding bicycles, the joys of riding bicycles. It's actually something that's very important to me. It used to be a huge part of my life. Something very formative. I learned a lot of lessons riding bikes, made a lot of memories. Riding bikes took on different roles in different chapters of my life, right? A lot to unpack. So that's what I'm doing here today. I'm going to unpack all my bicycle memories and stories and lessons and everything, okay? So there's a lot there. And you might think, what's he going to talk about? It seems kind of boring. What? It's just riding a bicycle. Who cares? But you might be surprised to find out there's a little something here for everybody, all right? There's some laughs. There's some hardship. There's some struggle. There's wholesome memories, there's friends, there's adventures, there's all sorts of things. So let's get into it, okay? Start with a little background, okay? Because there was a defining moment when I really started to fall in love with riding, okay? But before that, as a normal kid, I grew up in the Chicago suburbs. I, like most other children, had a little BMX bike, that I would tool around town and used to get to my friends' houses and fool around with and that kind of thing, right? Learned how to ride a bike when I was 4. I was very, very proud of myself, very proud of my little self, right? Very happy that I didn't want to feel left behind. Other kids were learning how to ride bikes around me. Didn't want to feel left behind, wanted to be part of it. And then, just tool around town on my little BMX bike as a kid, right? Have fun. Go to friends' houses, go off little dirt jumps, have a nice time. And then a little later on, when I was in middle school or high school and stuff, I used some bikes that my parents had lying around in disuse for many, many years. Because that's what you do as an adult. You buy a bicycle because you think I'm going to ride, right? I'm going to be a rider. I'm going to go on rides and get some exercise and get some sunshine, dopamine, and vitamin D, and it's going to be a grand time. And then they sit in your garage collecting dust because you're busy and you have a car and fuck it, right? So I'd borrow those to do what I needed to do, but same stuff, visiting friends, going around town, just that beautiful, who cares, killing time, enjoying outside time of your life, right? But then at some point, I think maybe my junior year, high school, senior year of high school, right? I wanted an upgrade, right? Wanted my own bike, something light, something fast, something that was, especially good at riding for some good distances. So I went on Facebook Marketplace, or actually, it's probably Craigslist at the time. That's when Craigslist was popping. That's when Craigslist was the place to be, okay? Went on there, found myself a maroon Schwinn 10-speed, like from the 80s, I think, right? Ooh, classic stuff, right? Ram horn handlebars, right? Light as a feather. You could pick it up with one finger. It was incredible, so cool. And thought got that son bitch, and thought let me test it out, see how this thing rolls, right? So I went to a nearby suburb called Elmhurst, if you would like to follow along, okay? And I got on the Illinois Prairie Path, right? Now, if you like hiking, if you like bike riding, and you're out looking for trails in your area, you might happen upon, or maybe you've already been on a trail like this and not known it, but what is called a rail-to-trail conversion. Yes. So, what that means is there is a train line, train tracks. That line is replaced by a different line, or is, for one reason or another, put into disuse, right? And so they rip up the tracks, and where the tracks were, they lay down a bunch of finely crushed gravel or crushed limestone, something like that, right? Some finely crushed mineral, okay? And turn it into a trail, which is beautiful, because now you have this trail that just cuts through the landscape right through and just goes through all these, cool areas, and really nice. So the Illinois Prairie Path is a lovely rail-to-trail conversion, right, that runs through all these western suburbs of Chicago, just pretty much goes straight west for a long time. So to test my new Schwinn 10-speed, I got on the Illinois Prairie Path, started going. Now, I have been on this path before. My mom took me there a few times when I was a kid to ride bikes, went there just a couple times later on, rode it a little bit, kind of just rode it for a bit, turned around, went and got some ice cream, that kind of thing. But man, this new, nice, light Schwinn 10-speed, it was so zippy, right? It just effortlessly was cutting through the air. It just had a flow to it that was beautiful, right? I wasn't really getting tired. It just felt good, okay? And so I just kept going. I just kept following this path, farther than I had ever gone on this path before, okay? I just kept going and going and going and going, just thinking, I don't know, I guess I'll stop when I get tired, but I was kind of just hypnotized, just getting lost in the sauce on this beautiful trail, right? On this beautiful feeling. Now, the path goes straight west until it breaks off into two different legs. One goes southwest to the town of Aurora, and if you've seen Wayne's World, yes, that Aurora, yes. And then the other leg goes northwest to the town of Elgin, Illinois, okay, with a little spur off the northern branch that goes to a little town on the Fox River called Geneva, right? Lovely towns along the Fox River. Anyway, on that fateful day, I decided to make my way to Aurora. I decided to take the southwest leg of the trail, okay? I just kept going and going and going. I think I went for like 38, maybe 40 miles, something like that. Much farther than I'd ever ridden a bike before, but like I said, it felt so good. And so there I was in Aurora, absolutely exhausted, not sure if I had the energy to get back. I've never ridden that far before. I didn't know, right? So called my folks, asked them to come pick me up in Aurora. They were none too pleased, right? They were pretty upset. They had to stop whatever they were doing to come down and get me. But what are you going to do? I appreciate it. Thank you. So it was, and at that time, it was kind of an interesting, isolated experience, right? I didn't intend to go on a long bike ride that day. I was just testing my bike, and it just kind of happened. It felt so good. So kind of an isolated incident. I didn't go on a very long bike rides like that for quite some time after. Then I went to college after that in downtown Chicago. I brought my bike with me the first year because I thought this would be cool. I'm in the city, got some time, I'll ride my bike around and have fun. I liked riding my bike around my suburbs so much, exploring different places, going to little natural places around there, going to little forest preserves and like reservoirs and stuff like that, hanging out in the summer sun, smoking a little weed, having some snacks, good shit, right? But yeah, so I thought, yeah, this would be cool. I'll just keep this going in the city. But here's the thing about riding your bike in a major city. Unless it's for a utility, unless it has a practical purpose, like you need it to get to work, right? You need it to go to the grocery store, something like that. It ain't fun. It ain't fun. Especially if you're not used to it. It is nerve-wracking. It is terrifying. It is anxiety-inducing. Ain't fun, right? When you're riding your bike in the city, it's like you're just constantly almost being hit by cars. Just a little bit. Always a little bit getting hit by a car, Not fun. It's loud. It's chaotic. You have to really elevate your senses to stay safe and vigilant. Now, there are some cool paths in Chicago. Like, it's really fun to bike along the lake if it's not too windy, stuff like that. But just in general, just biking around the city, gross. So, yeah, I didn't do it that much, right? I would go home for summer and then I'd get into riding. And those summers while I was in college, I would just get into riding a little more. Each summer I'd go back. I would take some different rides to like further, I'd look at maps and try to find forest preserves and cool places that were a little further away. I would do like a 10-mile ride, right? 20-mile ride, maybe 25-mile ride, 30, just kick it up a little bit at a time. Going out, just seeing these natural places, right? Having a good time. And then after I graduated college, it wasn't too long after that I moved back into the city to live and try to find work and all of that. And then to save money, I needed to use my bike to get to work, right? And see, that's the thing. Then biking in the city started to get fun. Okay. All right. Then it was fun. And I started to get used to it, right? I started to get used to the patterns, the kind of things you needed to keep in mind and look out for to stay safe while you were riding your bike in Chicago. Okay. And I still have my Schwinn, right? Now. One day I was riding home from work in Chicago and I got doored, okay? Now, it wasn't too bad. Things like that, they can be quite bad, but it wasn't too bad, thank the Lord. But I got doored on my Schwinn 10-speed, right? Same one from before. And clipped me. I went flying. If you don't know what doored is, it's when you're riding down the bike lane and a parked car opens their door without looking and you slam into the fucking door. And it sucks ass. I tried to swerve around it a little bit, but the end of the door clipped me pretty good. I had bruises like just all up along the side of my body. I just hit everything, just from my ankles to my thighs to my upper arm. It's all bruised up. Went flying off the front. I was really upset. But I was okay. But I got back on my bike and I realized that the entire front gear, right, the one that the pedals are welded to, right, the whole gear there had broken off its welds. So, unless I welded this thing back together or paid somebody else to weld this thing back together, which I had, I couldn't afford fucking shit, okay? Couldn't afford nothing, all right? Fucking brushing my teeth with baking soda, washing my hair with baking soda. Couldn't afford shit, okay? Living tight. So yeah, unless I welded this thing together myself or paid somebody else to do it, this bike was totaled. So I just kind of put it in storage thinking maybe I would fix it at some point or at least maybe use some parts at some other point later, right? Something like that. Now, but I still had to get to work. So my wife, my girlfriend at the time, I borrowed her bike to start going to work and riding around the city to run errands and everything you needed to do. But this was a much different animal. And you'll see why I'm talking about this, because this was an important moment. This was a different animal. This was a beach cruiser, man. This was a big old flat, tired, upright handlebars, right? Not heavy as shit. Not built for speed, right? Not built for nimbleness, that kind of thing, right? However, it taught me one of the most important lessons about riding bikes. This big old bike taught me, because I had to use it to get around. I didn't have anything else, right? Because the first few times I rode it, I was tired. It was a tough ride, right? But over time, I started to realize why. It was because I was trying to push the bike faster than it wanted to go, right? Because I was used to my zippy little 10-speed. I was used to cruising, man. I was used to just flying down the road. This bike, it didn't want to do that. I was trying to push it to do that, and I was just tiring myself out. It was a bummer, okay? But then I started to get in flow with that bicycle, right? I started to realize that there was this sweet spot, right? With every bicycle and with every gear on the bicycle, there is a sweet spot, right? Of pressure that you're putting on the pedals, of force that you're putting on the bicycle with your legs, okay? There's a sweet spot. And if you nail that sweet spot with each gear, right? Hardly feels like you're doing anything at all, right? It's just a little tiny push, just a little tiny amount of force as each pedal comes down, just a little doof, 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 instead of just like instead of just this grind, right? So that bike taught me how to ride in flow with the kind of bicycle I was using, right? Once I started to figure that out, no problem. I could ride that thing all day, anywhere, hardly any energy expended, legs weren't tired anymore, right? Just realizing, found that sweet spot. So that's why I bring that up. Very important lesson, very crucial to what I would go on to do and what I would have the ability to go on to do on bicycles, because I went and had some crazy rides later, okay? One moment. Okay. But still, that's the only bike we had. I didn't have my own bike, right? I was thinking about trying to get a new bike, but again, I don't have any fucking money, man. I got nothing. I had barely enough for bills, and that's it. And I barely had any bills, right? I was scraping by, but I was having fun. It was a good time. But yeah, so I didn't have my own bike. So I was talking to my dad, and he's like, why don't you take my old bike? I don't ride it. It was one I used to, borrow back in the day. And I didn't like riding it back in the day. Similar feeling to riding that beach cruiser. It was, I would get so exhausted riding it, right? But now that I had learned that important lesson on how to ride with the bicycle, right? How to ride within the limitations of the bicycle and not rush it, right? Just have patience. Um, riding this bike was actually great. It's actually a solid bike, right? And so I brought that bike to the city, and that would become the bike that I would use to get to work, use to get around, do all the things, right? Uh, Now, this bike that I would get from my dad, this would go on to like be the bicycle love of my life. It's the one I have to this day. This bike has seen a lot. I have done a lot on this bike. This bike, this bike was so special to me, has become so special to me. I gave it a silly name and everything, all right? It has a personality now, right? It's silly, I know, but I called it the Wanderer, right? It's my friend, the Wanderer. It took me a lot of places, right? And That's based off of the name of the train on the old television show from the 60s, The Wild Wild West, right? That's the name of the train. And I love that old show, so whatever, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, very, very special to me. And I'll show you some pictures of it later, and I'll talk more about what's going on with it a little later. But yeah, so I had that in the city. I was using that to get to work, to go around, to go to the grocery store, run errands, do whatever, right? Main mode of transportation. Now, so this bike was a 1983 Schwinn custom cruiser, something like that. Something like that. It's all rubbed off on the bike, so I kind of forget. It is a hybrid bicycle, right? So it has some qualities of a mountain bike, some qualities of a cruising bike, right? Originally, it had mountain bike knobbly tires on it. At some point, we got those switched out for smooth tires, so it was a little easier to ride on asphalt and fine gravel in the trails and sidewalks and stuff like that, right? Streets, so it's easier to ride on the street, okay? I put some nice straight handlebars on it, right? Made some little adjustments, and yeah, and that was my baby. That's what I was using. And it was heavier and it was slower, but like I said, I knew how to ride a bike like this now, right? And so we became fast friends. Excuse me. Okay, so after a while, I started, what? I started getting that feeling again to take some nice long bike rides, And I had a lot of options, because there's a lot of beautiful trails, great bike trails in the Chicagoland area and the surrounding suburbs. So I think probably I tested the waters first. Maybe I rode it down the lakefront trail, right, along Lake Michigan in Chicago. Rode it down there, ride back, nothing too crazy. I would ride it several times back to my hometown, which was about a 12-mile ride, maybe 12 or 14-mile ride. I would do that on a regular basis to go visit some old friends. And that was a lot of fun. I figured out it was kind of a tough place to get to, because I had to navigate through the whole area where O'Hare Airport was. And so I over time developed a safe way to get there, my own custom trail there. It took about a solid 2 hours to get there, 2 hours to get back. I did that a lot. Goddamn. Yeah, that's right. Okay. And then I planned a couple long bike rides along some of the trails, and I went out and did that. one of the big first ones I did was I went back to that Illinois prairie path, right? Except now I started at the beginning, which is in River Forest, Illinois, I believe. Okay, I would take the Blue Line elevated train out from Chicago to the end of the line in River Forest. I think that's what it is, or Forest Park, or something like that. And get off the line there. And then it was just a short little jump over to where the trail started, right? I wanted to ride the whole trail, which was, yeah, at least a solid 40 miles, if not a little bit more, right? Quite a lot for me at the time. But so much fun. Beautiful trail that it just gets prettier and prettier as you take it out. It goes through it starts a little sad, goes through some kind of dilapidated, forgotten little suburbs of Chicago, but then goes through some nicer suburbs, and it gets prettier and more tended to. And then it just gets more and more open as you move further away from the city, and the suburban sprawl kind of chills out a little bit. And then ends in some beautiful places, right? So I did Aurora the first time. Aurora's kind of boring, right? But you take the other leg, it ends in some cool places. It ends in some places along the Fox River that are quite beautiful, right? So yeah, I get on the trail in Forest Park. I think it was Forest Park. Yeah, I get on the trail in Forest Park, take it all the 40 miles, cruising down this path. I went on the Elgin leg when it split off, and then I went on the Geneva Spur. So I ended up in Geneva, Illinois, an adorable little town on the Fox River, right? I go to this awesome bar and grill, right? I get myself a big beer. I get myself a beautiful salad with a big piece of salmon on it, right? After a nice long bike ride, beautiful day. Come on. It doesn't get much better than that, right? And then I would hop on a train in that town, take it all the way back into the city, and make my way home, right? Because I'll tell you one thing. In general, if it can be helped, I don't like to double back. I hate doubling back. I'll do it if I have to. I'll do it sometimes if I don't have a choice, and like in order to explore this thing, it's just a straight shot and you got to turn around. But I hate doing it. If at all possible, if I can take a different way back than the way I took out, I'm going to do it, because then there's always a feeling of moving forward. There's always this feeling of a big loop, and I much prefer that to doubling back. I don't like that feeling of just turning around. Excuse me. So that's what I did. Went all the way out to Geneva, had a great meal, got on the train, went back to the city, made my way home. And it was such a wonderful experience, right? And it was quite a lot for me at the time. I was pretty tired, right? But such a fun experience. Just such a great use of time. It just felt like such an amazing use of a day. You know how you just have that feeling sometimes, where you're doing something and you're not thinking about anything else, right? You're not thinking about what you're missing out on, what you'd rather be doing, what maybe you should be doing. You're just doing something and you're just like, this is what life is for. It was one of those feelings. It was fantastic, right? I did that a couple more times by myself, because it was just so much fun. I did one time where I, went all the way up to Elgin. There was a train there too. Same situation. Got on the train, came back. I did it one time with my girlfriend, who's now my wife. I did it one time with her, which was a really big deal for her, because she had, I had been biking for years and was like building up to this. But this was very new for her, so we built. I helped her build it up a little bit. I did the Geneva run with her. That was great. I met this guy on Craigslist as like an activity partner to do bike rides together. We ended up only going on one ride, but we did that ride together. I did that ride with with a really good buddy of mine that from my hometown. It's such a nice path. I was just like, who else is down to go? Like, I will, like, facilitate and provide the motivation and support for anyone who wants to experience like a ride down this full trail, ending in one of these towns, having a good meal, that kind of thing. It was so fun. And then I started exploring some other paths, right? There's a couple good ones in Chicago. There is the North Shore Channel Trail. Okay. That is about 10 miles long from start to finish. So it's nice, and if you're not like an avid bike rider, it's solid, right? It's a solid thing, and it has a whole bunch of interesting sculptures along it, right? It goes through this whole like sculpture park, and there's a lot of neat things. So it's a lot of fun because you can go along, you can look at the sculptures, you talk, and it goes through some fairly nice like northern areas of Chicago, and it's pretty, and it's kind of pretty. And so that's a fun one. I went on that one quite a bit. I took some other people on it. My wife and I went up and down it many times when we were going out for rides. And then there's the North Branch Trail, which is very nice, a little longer. It goes north up into this town called Skokie. It ends in this area. It's called the Skokie Lagoons. It's all these like lagoons, interconnected little bodies of water. So it ends at the Skokie Lagoons. There's a loop around the lagoons, and then you come back. And my wife and I, we did that a few times. We brought some friends up there. I think that was about like 14 miles, something like that. And yeah, that was really pretty. It just went through a lot of forest preserves, so there's a lot of parts of it that were just like wooded, very pleasant, kind of quiet, right? So that was really fun. And let's see, what was it? Yes. So, I had the idea. I wanted to. This was like my next big jump. So like I did the Illinois Prairie Pass several times, which was, like a solid 40 miles, maybe a little over, right? I wanted to kick it up a notch. I wanted to go like 50, maybe 60 miles, right? So I decided I wanted to ride my bike from where I lived on the north side of Chicago to Kenosha, Wisconsin, which is just a couple towns over the border into Wisconsin along Lake Michigan. It's a lake town, okay? All right, and to get there, I had to connect a couple trails together. I had to ride north through northern Chicago neighborhoods into the northern suburbs, and then get on a bike trail called the Green Bay Trail, which went through like Evanston and Glencoe and Winnetka and stuff. And that was pretty nice because those suburbs are really nice. It's really pretty. The trail's well tended to. And at some point, the Green Bay Trail turns into the Robert McClory bike path. Now, I appreciate that this bike path is there because it's very long and it allows travel up into Wisconsin to connect to other bike paths. It's kind of cool. However, one of the most boring bike trails I've ever been on in my life. There's no twists and turns to this thing, right? The trail just stretches straight out to the horizon. It feels like you're on a fucking treadmill, right? It feels like you're not going anywhere. There's no like sense of mystery that's like pushes you forward. If you ever walked a trail that has a lot of twists and turns, you might notice that you can walk a lot farther. You can bike a lot farther and have more energy because you're always curious about what's around the corner, and that kind of drives you forward when you can just see all the way to the horizon what's coming, and it's just this straight white line. It's just like, Jesus Christ. But again, I'm glad it's there. I've been on it several times. I'm not too mad at it. Right? And so And so, yeah, I made it. It was probably like 55 miles, something like that, maybe a little more. I made it up into Wisconsin, connect to another little trail, went through some neighborhoods, made it to Kenosha, which is the last stop of a train line, the Union Pacific North Line. Got on a train, and then came back, made my way home, right? Now, funny thing about that ride is I don't know what it was. I don't know what it was, but I think maybe I made a poor choice of snack, poor choice of bicycle snack that day. And so when I got to Kenosha, I was like, man, I'm exhausted. Like, did this just wear me out today? Right? Like, what's going on? And then as I got to kind of downtown Kenosha, I was like, oh, I see. I'm going to throw up. That's the feeling, right? And so there I am, like in the middle of this park, library park in downtown Kenosha. Again, if you want to follow along, just laying down on the sidewalk, just like vomiting into the grass, you know? So that was fun. That was fun. Luckily, I was able to meet up with a friend I knew who lived in Kenosha, hang out with him for a little bit, did a couple dabs, got back on my feet, started to feel a little better. So that was fun. That was fun. But yeah, so they got a train, came back, right? So, good. Another milestone achieved, right? Got up past 50 miles, right? Then I wanted to push it even further, right? So I was looking for how I could do that. Now, this is what led me on to my absolute favorite trail in the Chicagoland area, the Des Plaines River Trail. The Des Plaines River, it goes all the way up into Wisconsin. It goes down really south, really long. It's one of the longest trails in the Chicagoland area, over 70 miles long. Okay? Really nice big boy, and a beautiful trail. It goes along, it follows the path of the river, so it goes through a lot of forest preserves. You know, the water's always close by. It's nice. It's pleasant, it's relaxing. It follows the river, so it takes a lot of little twists and turns. It's windy, it keeps you going, right? So I was able to ride my bike to that from where I lived, and then I rode it north, which turns out not the best way to go. It's just slightly uphill most of the time. And so it's like you don't even notice, just like, oh, why can't I get my energy here? You know? And then later I realized, oh, it's just slightly uphill the whole time. I would take one short, sharp, very steep hill every once in a while, as opposed to just the whole time just creeping up, just having that little bit of resistance like the whole time, right? So if you ever want to take that trail, all right, go north to south is my opinion. It's still great exercise. It's still beautiful, but it just carries you along a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Okay. But yeah, so I was able to ride my bike out to that trail, and then I rode the trail for hours and hours up to a town called Waukegan. I pretty much rode right to Six Flags Great America from like Chicago, like where the river intersects with Lawrence Avenue, a town, I think it's like Norridge or something like that. Again, if you want to follow along. And then I went into Waukegan, caught the train, came back home, right? So that was a great thing. All these different places. You have these, they're called Metro trains that go to all the surrounding suburbs. So that was just a great thing to be able to just ride out, hop on a train, come back. No turning back, right? No backtracking, which was always great. And that was like a maybe like 65 mile day, something like that, right? So then I wanted to do that trail again, but north to south, like I was saying. So that one I started on a train. I took a train out to Winthrop Harbor, pretty close to, like almost over the Wisconsin border, like right there. And then rode about 7 miles to where the Des Plaines River Trail starts, which was cool. So I was actually at the start. And I rode that all the way back, all the way down, back to Chicago, and all the way back home. And that was a solid 70-mile day, right? Solid 70-mile day. That was rad, right? Now, before I go on explaining all these rides and stuff, because there's more rides to talk about. It does reach a peak at some point. I'll tell you some of the things I started to learn on these rides. Some of the hidden pleasures of riding your bike for that long. These long endurance exercise activities, right? Like running marathons and going on really long bike rides like this. These endurance things. And some of the lessons I learned too. Because it was around this time, when I was taking these 40, 50, 60, 70-mile rides, that I was learning these things. So one, you get into this beautiful zone after you ride your bike for a period of time. When you have used a certain amount of energy. For me, it was a little after 10 miles. I'd ride about 10 miles, and then I would notice this little shift. I would just suddenly feel just more relaxed. My inner monologue would get a lot quieter. Just in general, my inner world would just get more peaceful, right? All the volume would turn down. It would just be more open, more airy, less cluttered. And what I started to realize was that when you're doing activity that's continuously using energy, you hit a certain point where your body has to reprioritize what it's choosing to focus on maintaining, like what it chooses to use its energy to do. If you're just sitting in a chair, doing nothing, just chilling, right? Your body has plenty of excess energy to run a bunch of nonsense in your brain, right? Just run through memories and pictures and different things you need to do or forgot about, or future plans or imaginary scenarios, just all this stuff that we walk around just like buzzing in our heads all the time, right? But if you continually are expending energy, in an activity like this, you get to a point where your brain needs to prioritize that energy for your body, for your muscles, for your calves and your back, and your thighs, to be able to keep this activity going, right? So it just, your thoughts, the energy it takes to run all those kinds of operations in your brain, not important anymore, right? And it's so peaceful and so relaxing. It's like you finally have some peace and quiet in your head, some space, right? And that was a beautiful thing. That was a beautiful thing to just like everything gets quieter, right? And so that was like a mental thing, right? And that was great. So yeah, about after 10 miles, I would notice that would like kick in. And it was just so pleasant, And so like, I'm sure you've heard of things like, like the runner's high, where you release like endorphins and stuff like that, right? But yeah, nobody talks about that aspect of it, the mental aspect of it, where you literally don't have the energy to think a lot, right? You need to have that energy to maintain your muscle systems and your circulatory system. It just refocuses all that. And that then is like the pleasure that like just makes you want to keep going, right? Continue to be in that zone, right? So yeah, when you imagine taking a long run, a long jog, long bike ride and you think like, oh, that's just going to be so many hours of sustained work. That's what you have to remember, is that you cross a threshold at some point and you enter a very pleasant zone, and you're just going to want to keep going, just to stay in that place, to see what there is to see in that area, you know? And then on a physical level, right, I started to learn how to pace myself and how to relax, right? And it's one of those interesting counterintuitive things in life. You'd think that in order to really learn how to relax, you would not, you would practice by trying to relax, like, trying to meditate, trying to be still, right? But you really learn how to relax when you're pushing up against something, when you're doing an activity, right? And especially with an endurance activity like this, if you're anxious, right? If you're full of nervous tension, if your stomach's tight, if your butt is tight, if your shoulders are tight, right? You are gonna wear yourself out, because all of that stuff starts to really matter when you've got, 40, 50, 60, 70 miles ahead of you to do, right? You can get through 5 miles all full attention, right? But yeah, if you're riding that long, it's going to kill you. It's going to kill you. You're going to get exhausted. Nothing you can do about it, right? So yeah, it was through these this endurance activity, these long rides, that I really learned how to relax, because that's how you keep going. That's how you pace yourself. That's how you keep everything moving, without getting tired. You can just keep going, And so as I was riding, I started to realize, like, okay, I have to relax everything, and so I'd go through and like say, internally or out loud, like, okay, hey, relax your butt, relax your stomach, relax your shoulders, okay? Relax your neck, all right? Because you only want to be using the muscles, the parts of your body that need to be used. Everything else, relax it. Anything that you don't need to be doing that motion of keeping the bike moving, relax it, right? Because that's just more energy, right? More resources that can be used to fuel and maintain the muscles that actually need to be used to ride the bike, right? And so yeah, I kind of like learned how to intentionally relax my body, and that kind of thing comes into play in all sorts of things, because there's so many of us do physical jobs. My job is pretty physical. I've had jobs before that were very physical. And that comes into play, try to find out exactly what parts of your body, exactly what muscles need to be activated to do it. And the rest of it, consciously relax that shit, right? And you will be better off. You won't be fucking exhausted at the end of whatever it is, right? And yeah, just in general, just pacing myself, right? Again, just moving in flow with the bicycle, right? People on speedy road bikes are zipping by me, and I'm like, that's okay. I'm moving the speed that the bike will let me move, right? If I tried to push it any more than that, I'm dead. I'll make it 10 miles and I'll want to stop. I'll be dead. I'll need to pull over and massage myself, that kind of thing. So you just go the speed the bike lets you go. You have patience. You give yourself enough time. When I did that 70-mile ride down the Des Plaines River Trail, that was like a full 12-hour experience, I woke up real early. I gave myself all day to do that, right? Because that's how you get through those experiences, right? I also started to learn breathing techniques. And again, I'm not doing These are things that the act of doing it is teaching me. I'm not going on the internet being like, how do I pace myself? How do I ride my bike far? What are some breathing techniques? The experience will teach you, if you just keep doing it, driven by the pleasure of doing it. The experience will just teach you all of this, right? This was all just organic lessons from the act of doing it, right? Which was so cool. So I started to learn breathing techniques too. I noticed like if I was going up a hill, right? And I needed to like expend a little more energy quickly, just like push it more. Going up a little hill, and I get to the top of the hill, I kind of be out of breath, right? Maybe my calves are they're a little tight now. They got lactic acid in them, right? I started to notice just naturally my body would take short, sharp, quick breaths, just like stuff like that, right? And it would just quickly reoxygenate my muscles, get that lactic acid processed and out of there, help catch my breath again, right? And it just would happen naturally. And so I noticed like, oh, that's nice, I'm just relaxing. I'm letting my body adapt and try to handle this situation that I'm putting it through. And, just revealing these interesting lessons and thoughts and techniques that are very useful in so many other parts of life, right? So that was a great treat, learning how to relax, learning how to properly pace myself, to have patience, to breathe in different ways depending on the circumstance, to be open to that kind of thing, okay? So I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it. It was a beautiful thing. All just while riding my bike outside, breathe in the air, occasionally stop, take a little one-hitter, just beautiful, pleasant experiences, such an incredible use of time, such a good use of time. Now, I'm trying to get this straight in my head, like the timeline here. So I kicked it up one more notch. So the furthest I'd gone, I did 70 miles. Very proud of myself. So much fun to tell people that you're doing this shit too, right? Because most people can't fathom riding a bike for that long, for that far. They don't even know what you're doing. They don't even understand, Some people do, but a lot of people, you tell them like, yeah, I did 70 miles. And they're like, what the are you okay? You working through some demons or something wrong with you? Like, nah, it's just fucking rad. It's just fun. It's just fun, man. All right. So I kicked it up one more notch. I did like a 90 mile. All right. Now that was great. That one, same. I got on the Des Plaines River Trail. I went up, same place I went before, Waukegan. Except this time I went over to Waukegan and then got back on the Robert McClory bike path, which I mentioned earlier. Took that south all the way back to the city, all the way back home. Excuse me. And that was huge, right? That was exhausting. I got a little nervous towards the end because it was getting dark. The trail did some weird things as it gets back into the city. I wasn't sure which way to go. My phone was dying, I didn't have one of those like rechargeable battery things. Like, it was a little scary, and it was riding at night and these dark trails. And cause that was like a full, just the ride was 14 hours, and that was a big deal, but I did that. And that was great, So I'm like, yeah, man, I almost got 100 miles, man. This is incredible. How cool. Now we have reached the pretty much like the climax, the craziest bike riding thing I ever did, okay? There is this amazing small business. in Chicago called Out Your Front Door. Okay? If you're in the Chicagoland area and you want to do some really interesting, I'm not whatever, I'm not sponsored by them or whatever. I was a customer of theirs one time. But they're just great. I just want to give them some love. If you're in the Chicagoland area and you want to do some really cool bicycle adventure type things that are very accessible, they have a wide range of experiences. They're very accessible. They have something. They have something for everybody. Check them out. They're called Out Your Front Door, and they do a bunch of guided bicycle adventure tours. They go to the Indiana Dunes. They go to Chain of Lakes State Park. They go along local trails. They do short rides, long rides, family rides, overnight camping rides. They do all sorts of stuff. So I signed up for one of their rides, and it's like the biggest ride they do, right? Because I really wanted, let's kick it up another notch, right? So this ride was from Buckingham Fountain in the heart of Chicago, right on the lake, all the way up the lakefront, along the the Lakefront Trail, the Green Bay Trail, Robert McClory Bike Path, all the way into Wisconsin, and then west along Wisconsin back roads, down back into Illinois, and then to the Chain of Lakes State Park, where we camped overnight. And some people use tents, some people use cabins. Now, real quick, I'll just mention, again, just as an endorsement for this company. See, I was kind of worried that I'd show up. I didn't know what to expect. I was kind of worried that I'd show up and everybody else would just be, those bike people that you see with spandex, with really quick, speedy road bikes, clipped in, all that stuff. And I was like, man, am I going to be the odd man out? Because I'm not like that, right? I just, I did these crazy rides, 70 miles, 90 miles. Like, I was doing this all the time. I do these crazy rides, but I would do them pretty slow, like 10, 11, 12 miles an hour, just breathing, it was a meditative thing. I wore normal clothes. My bike was, my bike was like not a great bike, but I loved it and it worked. It was just this old, cruiser bike that I had just come to love, it wasn't a speedy road bike. And so I was worried I'd be the odd man out. Turns out I had nothing to worry about. There were so many different kinds of people there, right? At all different skill levels riding their bikes, all different kinds of bikes. So yeah, it really felt just like this very, very, very diverse group. There wasn't any of those, bicycle people you see zipping around the city in their spandex, to give you an example of the vibe, there was two tour guides, or, guides for the trip. And, one of them, he did the whole ride, in flip-flops, smoking cigarettes, that was who was leading it. So I'm like, this is going to be good. This is going to be good. And it was great because it's kind of a testament to what you can do, how far you can go if you just relax and breathe, stay calm, and just keep going. You can get through almost anything like that. So he was a great example of nah, man, you don't need the shoes that clip in. You don't need the spandex, just get on your bike. You just got to have to enjoy it. And he was enjoying it. And so that was just a great example for everybody to follow when people are just like, man, oh, it's getting a little windy. I don't know if I can keep going. Meanwhile, he's just cruising along, fucking smoking a Marlboro Red in his flip-flops, being like, you got this, man. I was just like, you kidding me? This is rad. How crazy. We also took a lot of breaks to appreciate some of the history of the areas we were going through. Very cool, very fun, right? So it's a straight 100 miles the first day. 100-mile ride the first day. Again, up into Wisconsin, over, down to Chain of Lakes State Park. Camped overnight, some people in tents, some people in cabins. I was in a cabin, had a nice fire at night, right? Get up, 100 miles back the next day. right? 100 miles, sleep, 100 miles, right? So that's my biggest bicycle achievement. I went on a lot of rides after that, but that was like the holy shit bucket list big old bike ride thing right there, you know? And I know some people ride their bikes across the country, do crazy things like that, and I kind of like to do that someday. You know, who knows what the future holds. But yeah, for me, my personally, that was just like bam, like I'm happy with that. That's awesome. You know, 200 miles in 2 days, and we came back a different way. We went on some roads for a while, picked up like the Fox River Trail, took that to Elgin, and then got on the Illinois Prairie Path. You know, one of my favorite places. Took that all the way back into Chicago. Went back to Buckingham Fountain, popped a couple bottles of champagne, passed them around. Beautiful. Fucking beautiful. Met some cool people. Lot of fun. Lot of fun. And it was interesting, you know, not everybody made it. You know, like, because there was a lot of exit points, you know, where you could get on a metro train and, disengage from the experience. So not everybody made it. But some people that I thought would dip out early kept going. Some people that I thought would go the distance dipped out early for one reason or another. Like this one girl, she was going too fast around a turn, flew off her bicycle, got banged up, took a chunk out of her helmet, you know, and she was just like, yeah, she was like shaking a little bit like, yeah, I'm done. I don't think I want to ride another 50 miles after that, you know. Totally understandable. One moment. But yeah, that was my big thing. Yeah, and I did it all on that 1983 Schwinn cruiser hybrid thing, you know. So much fun. Okay. So then after that, one of my good buddies from my hometown, he was starting to improve his health and well-being, right? He was making good strides in improving his mental health and his physical health, right? He was losing weight, doing a workout routine, lifting kettlebells, and he was fucking killing it, man. Took off all his excess weight, was going out, being more social, just fucking awesome, right? And so I saw him doing this and I'm like, hey man, he might be down now to take some of these rides, you know, that I've taken, you know, because that's kind of what you do when you've had these experiences a few times, anything, you've had the same experience a few times and you've done it by yourself and you think like, what can I do to make this feel new again? It's like, well, you take somebody else, you know, you guide them through the experience, right? And you experience it vicariously through them, and you also help them through it if it's a hard thing, which these long bike rides are fucking hard, and they certainly can be sometimes. So you help them learn the lessons and the tools that you develop to make these things possible, right? So it's fun. So I thought, maybe he'll want to do some of this, and he did. And we went on some cool rides. We had gone on some rides before, like when I was still in high school. I think we went on like a couple 10-mile rides. But nothing crazy. We tried to go on this long ride one time, and it was a goddamn nightmare. We still talk about it to this day. We just like hung out. Because we would do these rides when we were a little younger, where I would pick a forest preserve somewhere, and we ride out to the forest preserve, find a nice place to sit, smoke a bowl, talk, and then ride back. Great fucking day. Solid day. Perfect day, right? And so one of the days that I did that, I picked a forest preserve that was a little further out, and we get out there, we chill, but we just left a little too late in the day. And then we hung out at the forest preserve just a little too long. And it just got dark real fast. And we didn't have lights on our bikes. I just didn't plan it well. And the whole experience just made it so disorienting. Like looking back, I'm like, okay, we could have just gone back the exact same way, you know? But we like got back on the trail and there's no lights on the trail. It's just pitch dark. We could have just walked, you know, we didn't have to ride down the trail. We could have just walked down the trail, taken our time, you know, and just gone back the exact same way that we came. But I don't know, it was just so disorienting. We got freaked out. Like, what are we going to do, you know? Just our logical thought processes were clouded by anxiety. So I'm like calling a friend, because this is like before, you know, Google Maps. I'm calling a friend, or like Google Maps on your phone. I'm calling a friend being like, hey, I'm at the corner of this, and there's a mobile gas station. Can you find out like where we are and like help me go in the right direction, you know? And I must have been on the phone for like 20 straight minutes, and he was not able to help me somehow. He had the intersection I was at and a landmark on the intersection, and for some reason just couldn't figure it out. I still don't know why. I still don't know how that went down. I was so confused. I talked to him for 20 minutes. I hung up the phone, and my friend was like, so did you figure something out? And I'm like, no. I don't even know how. So we started like heading down the road. We ended up in a place that we were kind of familiar with. Like, oh, we're here? Oh, geez. And we were kind of far out. And then we're like, well, at least we know the direction we should head in. Let's just start heading that direction, and we'll probably run into other things that we're familiar with. So we're riding down the side of this road. And it's a road we shouldn't have been riding down the side of, but it was at least late, and so there wasn't as much traffic, right? I ride over this hole, right? It was like a drain on the side of the road, and it was no longer covered with a grate. And so I just bam, bam, hit both tires in there, blow both tires, adventure over, we're fucked, time to call for help, right? I don't have any replacement tubes, everything, it's done. We're just fucked now. He calls his mom comes out, she's just laughing at us, you know. We had to, we like locked up the bikes somewhere, and then just got a ride. And then I drove back out there later and picked up the bikes. But yeah, his mom's just laughing at us, just like, what the hell did you guys do? And we're like, I don't know. We fucked up is what we did. We got nervous, and this was just all stupid, right? And then we didn't go on rides for a while after that. Look, broke his trust a little bit there with that one, but I redeemed myself. So after I did that huge ride, right, out to Chain of Lakes, that like 200-mile experience, right, and then my friend was getting healthier, I was like, hey, let's go on some rides together again. And I told him, I'm like, listen, dude, I promise. I've been going on a lot of long rides lately. I've been getting a lot better at planning them, writing down directions beforehand, planning it out, lining them up with train stations. So like we can always like leave if we get tired or whatever. And so it's not going to be like it was before. Like I'm a professional now, you know, I can do this. And he's like, all right, yeah. So we did the ride, you know, on the Illinois Prairie Path to Geneva. We did the ride to Elgin and back. That was a 70-mile day. And we didn't stop to eat in the middle. So we went to Elgin and back, and by the time we get back to his house in my hometown, he like collapses on his front lawn, and he's just like kind of dizzy. And he turns his head over to me. We're both laying on his lawn. He turns his head over to me, and he's like, hey, I feel crazy right now. Is that normal? And I'm like, oh yeah, what we did is weird. You know, that wasn't a normal thing we did. We just like went out and rode pretty much straight 70 miles with like maybe a 15-minute break in the middle. It's definitely a lot. And he's like, oh, okay, good. You know, And it kind of fucked him up because it was a huge energy expenditure. So he was like a little sad, the next few, like a little depressed the next few days, but he got back on his feet. It was cool, and I took him on a couple more rides, and we made sure to like eat in the middle so that didn't happen again, and everything was fine. So I took him, I took him on the Illinois Prairie Path a couple times, super fun. And then I took him on that 90 mile. I took him on that 90-mile loop I did up the Des Plaines River Trail. And then over into Waukegan, we stopped at a bar and grill. We got some fucking cheese curds and some burgers, right? Went back down the Robert McClory. So yeah, he built it up. He did that goddamn 90-mile ride with me. You fucking kudos to that motherfucker, And so there was that whole like chapter where I was, going on these rides I had gone on before, but with my buddy now, right? With some company, right? Showing him how to pace himself, the beauty of doing these things, just sharing the whole experience. And I really appreciate that he was down for all that nonsense, Oh, okay. Now we move pretty much into the final chapter. The final chapter of my, the period of my life where, my bicycle was my main mode of transportation, right? Because now I got myself a car. Boo. Listen, I appreciate all the things that having a car does, but in general, I fucking hate them. I hate them. I never wanted one. I wanted to just live a little simple life where I just like stayed really, really local, and if I did need to travel anywhere, I just like take a taxi to the airport or take a train somewhere, but I just wanted to stay nice and local and just ride my bike, I always wanted to do that. I grew up, I hated, seeing people with like, I need to go get something from the convenience store and it's 2 blocks away and they get in their car and they drive over there. I'm like, fuck that. God, I hate this, And, sure enough, right? I got my first car just a couple years ago at like 32, right? Sure enough, I get my car within like a year after getting my car, I gained like 80 fucking pounds. Okay. Because I didn't have the skills of self-control, right? So like I turned 30, got my first car, turned 30, and I moved to Wisconsin from Chicago. I moved to the drunkest, cheesiest state in the whole fucking country. And yeah, it's like I drove over the state line and just puffed right up, right? Before that, I was the skinniest I ever was. I was too skinny. I was like 155, right? Too skinny. I'm 6'2". It was too skinny. My ass was falling off of me. It was ridiculous. And I'll explain why I got down that low. And then, yeah, fucking first car, moved to the drunkest, cheesiest state in the country, turned 30, metabolism slowing down, right? And I just, bam, 80 pounds. I went up to like, like 230, wild. So yeah, it fucked me up. I didn't, cause when you use a bike to do everything, cause I was living in Chicago, I got away for a long time without a car, cause you can get anywhere you want in Chicago without a car. You can take a train, you can take a bus, you can take a train out to the suburbs, you can catch an Amtrak to a different part of the country. You can take public transportation to the airport. You can ride your bike everywhere, right? So I got away for a long time without having a car, and it was glorious. I loved it. I loved how life felt when I didn't have a car. Sure, there was occasionally sometimes where you really needed one and you had to borrow something or, rent one for a day or something like that. But, oh, God. There's moments now where, like, if my car's in the shop for a day or two and I go home and, like, it feels like I don't have a car, I feel that feeling again of that time in my life, and I just soak it up. I miss it so much. Oh God. And but yeah, when a bike is your main mode of transportation, is the main thing that facilitates you getting around, your life is just there's so much built-in exercise in your life, just this sneaky exercise that just like you're just always burning calories, especially if you don't have a car in general. You're always walking somewhere, biking somewhere. It's great, you know? And so I didn't have to develop self-control, like especially, I mean, my metabolism's high. I'm in my 20s. I'm riding my bike like a fucking maniac everywhere all the time, taking these long ass rides, using it to grocery shop, get to work, everything, right? So my rule of thumb for eating food when I was, you know, in that period of my life was, how can I get the highest amount of calories for the least amount of money, right? Which incidentally, if you didn't know, was the Wendy's $5 biggie bag. If you didn't know, that's it. I don't know if they still do that, but that was it. I ate a lot of those motherfuckers. So yeah, I never had to develop the, you know, the appropriate level of self-control to maintain it. And so then fucking all of that goes away. And yeah, I just puff right up. I've leveled out now, and I've been coming down a little bit. I've been developing the tools of self-control with eating and being a lot more intentional. But yeah, just goofy shit, man. Goofy fucking shit. So yeah. So we're going to talk about the last chapter of this period in my life where my bicycle was my main mode of transportation, right? And so this is during the pandemic. So when the pandemic started and most of Chicago shut down, I kept working at the job I was working at for about 3 months. But, you know, I was doing the job of 3 people. I was by myself. A lot of people were let go. I had the option to stay, so I stayed for a bit. Saved up a little money. Everybody was tipping good, you know, but when the tips started to go down and I just started to get absolutely burnt out, you know, doing all this extra work that, yeah, used to be done by like 3 or 4 people. And I was doing myself. I'm like, I gotta stop. I gotta chill. I have enough money saved up, you know, from all these fucking tips that I can just chill for a while and see if I can ride out, you know, the rest of this, you know. And so then I was at home for a while, just resting. Holy shit. It's the first time in my life, since I could remember, where I was actually getting enough sleep every day. And it was the best thing I have ever experienced in the entire world, my whole life. There was no experience I've had. I've traveled to some beautiful places. I've had some beautiful moments with amazing people. I've done some really wild, interesting things. But nothing holds a candle to getting enough sleep. That was incredible. I was sleeping like 10 or 12 hours every goddamn day. I felt so fucking good. The world was brighter. It was incredible. I had a couple health problems that I was dealing with for a long period of time. They went away. They went away. I think you could cure damn cancer if you just fucking slept that much. Okay? For God's sakes. Everything got better. My body finally had enough time and space, and there wasn't the stress of working. I finally had enough time and space to fucking heal. Are you kidding me? Because your body puts so much on hold, you know, to deal with other nonsense when you're living your normal life. If you give it the time and space, it'll take care of anything, dude. I digress. So at some point I ran out of money, right? I needed to go work again, and I didn't even have enough time to try to find a job while the pandemic was still kind of going on. It was still kind of in the thick of it, right? I didn't have enough time. I needed money right fucking now, right? So I got on the Uber Eats train, okay? Started doing Uber Eats, right? And so yeah, again, this is the last chapter of the whole part of my life where me and my bicycle, you know, peanut butter and jelly, you know, oh, just living life together, right? So important. So I was delivering food with Uber Eats on my bicycle, and God damn it, one of my most favorite times working. I've had a lot of weird day jobs. I'd like to talk about all my weird day jobs in a future episode, but I've had a lot of weird day jobs. But this one, oh, it was so much fun, right? Making my own schedule, working when I wanted to work, working on my beloved bicycle, riding through the city, getting to know all these different nooks and crannies of Chicago. I biked everywhere in Chicago. Absolutely everywhere. Every little side street, every nook and cranny. So much fun. I felt I was riding I was working about 6 days a week, usually, sometimes just every day. I was riding 40, 45, 50 miles a day through Chicago, right? Bringing people their food, making that money, rain, shine, I'd be out in the rain. The rain, you made good money because people didn't want to go out, right? So I put on my rain armor, right? My Gore-Tex coat, my waterproof pants, put my phone in a baggie and get out there and do that shit, Brutally hot summer days, just sweating buckets, pounding water, wearing wearing a thin white long sleeve shirt to protect me from the sun, and a big wide brimmed hat to keep it off my face. I did it all through winter, right? Bitter cold, winter armor, everything tucked in, layered up, ski goggles, balaclava, all that stuff, I was out there, and it was hard sometimes. It was real hard. But man, it was a labor of love. I loved it. Oh my God. And so to get ready for this, I'd see people ride around delivering food on their bicycles, and they have those big fucking cube backpacks, those big cubes sticking off their back to deliver shit. And I was like, fuck that. All right. I'm sure it works for people, but fuck that. I'm not riding 40, 50 miles a day with a big old fucking cube on my back. I'm going to die. Right? I'm going to throw out my back. I'm going to fuck up my neck. So here's what I did. I got a 10-gallon plastic bin, right? With a snap lid, and I had one of those little bike racks that goes over your back tire, right? Attaches to the seat post and where the gears are, and it just creates a little flat surface to store stuff on in the back tire. I put the bin on top of that. I melted a bunch of holes in it with a soldering iron, right? And then I took 550 cord, otherwise known as paracord, very, very strong cordage that's used for parachutes. It's the rope used for parachutes. That's why it's called paracord, right? And I spent about 3 or 4 hours on a hot summer night in the alley behind where I lived in Chicago, tying down this bin to the bike rack. And God damn it, I did it so fucking good, you guys. I don't know, I don't toot my own horn all the time. I did such a good job. I tried it a few different ways. I noticed this is not working. I got to backtrack and do this. I melted all the ends. I cut the excess and melted all the ends so it wouldn't fray. I tied this thing down so good and so tight. That was many years ago now. It's still on my bike. It is just as tight and secure as it was the day I tied it. I have not touched it at all. I did it fucking right the first time. It looks clean. There's good tension in all the lines. I put this thing on so good, right? And then I used a bunch of, we were ordering food from, what do they call that? Those services that will deliver vegetables to you that are rejected by grocery stores. You know what I'm talking about? We were using that service for a long time because we got a discount on that thing for a long time. And that is to say, whatever. The only reason I bring that up is we'd get like frozen meats and stuff from them too, and they deliver them in these insulated freezer bags. And we got a lot of these deliveries, so we had tons of insulated freezer bags, right? Because they seemed like useful things to have around. We wouldn't throw them away, and we used them for other things. And so I grabbed a couple of those, right? You know, put the insulated freezer bag in the 10-gallon bin on the back of the bike, and there it was, man, right? I had an insulated 10-gallon storage container firmly affixed to the back of my bike with a lid. I put some reflective tape on the back. I melted a couple other holes in the back, put a little loop in there so I could clip on a light. I tied some cord around each on like one side of the lid so I could just flip it open and it would be held with the rope there, you know. And I was in fucking business, and I started going around Chicago, making that money, delivering people food, and it was so much fun. But yeah, and connects to earlier, that's when I got down to 155, man. Because I was riding my bike like a maniac out there making that money, you know, to pay the bills and shit. Yeah, that's when I got down to 155. I was burning so many calories, I couldn't eat enough to replace them, you know? And so again, yeah, that was my rule. As many calories as I can get for as cheap as possible. Fuck. But man, I felt like that's the most intimate I ever got with the city of Chicago. I just felt when I was out there riding and delivering, I felt like a blood vessel, you know, carrying oxygen and resources around, like picking it up here, dropping it off here. I've never before it, I felt like just a functioning little cell in the city. And it was such a cool feeling. And I would go all over the place and take breaks in different spots, sit in different areas, you know, people watch. So fucking interesting. And deliver all sorts of stuff. Fast food, nice meals, bags of ice, cases of beer, alcohol, you know, fucking sushi and Wendy's. It's just everything, man. Everything. Such an interesting experience. And I wasn't taking, you know, I had stopped taking like long bike rides for fun because I was riding my bike like a maniac almost every day. So I kind of checked that box, you know, so I wasn't worried about that. And yeah, and that, you know, that experience taught me how to ride in all kinds of weather, right? You know, like I said, just my winter armor, fucking ski goggles out there, you know, really thin gloves, inside big ass Arctic mittens, right? And I had to get a stylus pen and tie it with a piece of cord to my handlebars because I have mittens. I can't mitten my phone to accept orders, so I would just like grab up the stylus pen in my mitten hand and then poke at my phone, you know? All on the Wanderer, baby. All on the Wanderer. All on that 1983 beat up, kind of rusty Schwinn bike, man. And also that experience taught me how to fix my bike, right? Because now my bike's making me money. Now I can't afford to not have my bike working, right? I broke spokes all the time. I had to replace probably 15 spokes that I pulled off like a junk bike I had, resized, and replaced them. I had to learn how to replace the bearings, right, in the tires. I had to learn out how to keep it like properly lubricated. I finally learned how to replace the inner tube, right? I had a huge block about learning how to do that for years and years. But through that experience, now I could do that, right? I had a set of bike tools that I invested in. I knew how to take certain things apart. I knew how to replace things. I knew how to make adjustments. right? Which is fucking great, you know? So like now when I take bike rides, I know I'm set. I bring my tools with me in the bin, you know? I bring extra inner tubes with me in the bin. I tie my nice air pump with the gauge to the back of the bike rack. I'm good to go, you know? Unless my bike, you know, just explodes, you know, into little pieces, I'm going to be fine. I can keep going, right? Which is amazing. Oh my gosh. And then also during that period, you know, started really using my bike for everything. I got one of those, cause now, you know, I had that bin on the back. I could do more. You could make a big grocery trip, right? Fill up the bin. And then I got one of those bike trailers that you can attach to the back, right? Now I can bring around heavy shit, right? Now I can go get, you know, 80 pounds of cat litter, right? Bring it back on my bike, put it in a low gear, go slow, you know? I did a huge grocery trip one time. I bought $400 or $500 worth of groceries, right? And in this one big trip, you know, canned food, fresh food, bread, sauces, vegetables, everything, right? With the trailer and my bin and a backpack, I brought all that shit home. One big trip, man. You know, I really learned how to use my bike to do everything, right? But yeah, that was the last chapter. After that, I had to move out of Chicago. I had to get a car, and that just everything changed, you know? You know, because before I had to ride my bike. Now I don't have to. And I just don't as much, and it kind of bums me out. You know, but that's just how life goes. You move through these different chapters, and I hope a coming chapter of my life, I hope my bike comes back to me. I hope, you know, our relationship is rekindled. But that was the last big phase of that big chapter of, you know, all those different chapters of my life where my bike was so important. It taught me so much, you know, with those long rides. It facilitated, you know, survival, going to the grocery store, getting to work, going to hang out for social things, getting around. And yeah, so many great experiences with friends and that great, you know, group I met for that 200-mile ride, you know, just these adventures, these experiences, these memories that will last a lifetime, these lessons that will continue to be useful in so many different ways for the rest of my life. And that's not just with long bike rides, but that's with any endurance activity. There's so much to be learned in an activity like that. That's just so useful and so beautiful. And then my bike was making me money. It was helping me pay my bills, helping me survive, you know, so important, so meaningful. I just bonded so much with this thing, you know, that I gave it a name. I'm not a person to name things. I don't like that because I get like way too attached to inanimate objects, you know, because I'll get attached to stuff anyway. I don't need to, you know, if I name something and then it breaks, I don't need to feel like I just lost a friend. You know, I just like to be the normal amount of sad that it broke, not that somebody died, you know, that kind of thing. But my bike deserved it. It's one of the only things I've ever named, just because of how incredibly important it was to me, how much I bonded with this thing, how much time I spent on that seat, man. It's crazy, you know? Oh, and I miss it dearly. I still have it, of course, and at this time, I will share a couple pictures. You can enjoy some pictures, you know. Here's one. Okay. Check it out. Yeah, see, it's kind of rusted. See that bin on the back? See how the rims? See, I said I used to replace a lot of spokes, but at some point I just kept breaking spokes. I was like, fuck that. I'm going to get these, you know, these custom, you know, molded or like cast rims, and holy shit, best purchase I ever made. The tires just stay straight. I get flats less. If you're on the fence about upgrading to those, fucking get them. It's so fucking worth it. It's just such a weight off my back to be dealing with that. Not always trying to true my tires and stuff. And old school gear shift from the original bike that doesn't work properly. It slips, right? So like you move down to a lower gear, you let go, it just slips into the higher gear. But I actually love it, and I have made no effort to fix it because I've set up my handlebars in a way where I can easily hold the gear shift in different positions while I ride, right? And gear shifts are kind of a fickle thing. They require like a kind of a very particular balance of tension to derail the chain and hold it in different spots. But yeah, with this, right, it's just very simple. You just pull on it, change gears, let go, gears go up. It just can't, you can't break something that's already broken. The only thing that can break on it is the line could snap if it gets too rusty and degraded, but that's easy to replace. I hate dealing with balancy things like the gear shift. So I actually fucking love, it's like perfectly broken in my opinion. I love it. And if you're thinking like, oh, doesn't that suck to ride with? It's been broken the whole time. That 100-mile ride, the 200-mile ride, the 70-mile rides, it's been broken the whole time. And you don't see me complaining. All right. I like it. And you see the nose of the bike seat's kind of worn away, right? Oh, why don't you get a new seat? Because I kind of like that too. It's kind of nice, right? It's just enough. It's got just enough nose, right? That it doesn't cut off the circulation to your legs like some of those noseless seats that you see, which are cool in theory, but yeah, the way you sit on them, it kind of cuts off circulation to your legs. So it's got just enough nose to not do that. But then the tip of the nose is gone, so there's not so much pressure on my damn balls, on my little fellas down there, right? Not to be graphic, but you got to deal with that. That's something to take into consideration when you're riding, man. Putting a lot of pressure on your junk, right? So that's actually kind of perfectly broken too, right? There's a little rust on that fella. It's just got one front brake, that's kind of worn down. But I just know how to work with it. All right. That's the bike I've taken everywhere. I'll give you a couple different angles and that kind of thing. But yeah, that's my baby. That's the Wanderer. That bike helped me pay the bills, took me to all sorts of interesting places, gave me all sorts of memories on that little old weird little hybrid bike from 1983 that used to belong to my dad. All right. So there it is. There's pretty much, I've unloaded all of my bike memories, the whole progression of the thing, all the lessons I learned, all the experiences, the standout memories, Again, I can't overstate. It was just a love affair. My bike was so important to me. It was such an enormous, crucial part of my life. And I feel very lucky that I was able to make it so long in my life without life just forcing me to, to get on the bandwagon, join the rest of the world and get a car. I'm so glad I got all those years, having all those experiences on a bicycle, because that was my real fantasy. That's really how I wanted to live. I wish I still could live like that, but it just wasn't in the cards, So I'm glad I at least got, all of my 20s. My whole 20s, and a little more than that, like a solid 15 years of beautiful bicycle memories, and yeah, I hope there was, should be something in there for everybody, something fun for everybody. I would love to hear from you. If you have your own, wild bicycle memories, if you've taken some serious rides and you want to share about it, and feel heard about it, please, put it in the comments. I love hearing this kind of stuff, I'm your guy for that, I get it. I fucking get it, or if you'd like to take longer rides and you need some more specific advice or information, you ask that too. I'm happy to engage, you know? And yeah, that's everything. That's everything. Thanks for giving me the space to just unload all of that stuff. I hope you found some of it interesting, and fun and funny or whatever, you know. And yeah, I appreciate you being here. If you're still here, I appreciate you. And yeah, and there it is. Let's end it there. As always, new episodes coming out every Tuesday, 8 a.m. Central Time. Still haven't gotten these episodes up on podcast platforms. I think I'm going to try to do that before the end of the week, but regardless, I will put out an announcement on the page when they are up and live on places like Spotify and Apple Podcasts and stuff like that. Excuse me. And if you're enjoying what I'm doing and you want to help me out, there are links in the description that can lead you in the right direction, right? You can go listen to and share my music. That helps me out, right? Because making music, that's my fucking thing. That's my main thing, okay? So you listen to my music, you can share it with people that you think might like it. That helps me a lot. I've got a super simple Patreon, right, at this time. You can go there if you want to get in on that, no pressure. There's links to leave donations if you're feeling generous. It just helps me keep this going. I do have dreams of doing creative projects full time. I've been trying to work towards that for, God, I don't know, 15 years, you know? But yeah, it just helps me on the road to that goal, to keep these things going and just to keep my spirits up, you know? Cause yeah, making stuff is hard work. It's a lot of fun, but it's hard work. And there's always so much that goes into it, you know? But again, no pressure. I'm just happy that you're here. I'm having a good time. I'm going to keep going, keep sharing memories, keep sharing stories, keep talking about beautiful things that are important to me. Books and music and art and memories and stories and all this great stuff, right? So I appreciate you. Okay? More to come. Okay? But for now, have a good one. Okay? Bye. Bye. Time to get on those two wheels and roll down the road. Wind in your hair. Bye. Bye. Quiet the thoughts in your mind. Feel that energy flow to your muscles. Deep breaths. Bye. Bye, friends. Bye. Bye. Just cruising, leaning, feeling the weight. Bye. Bye.